Alright, Chapter 7. And these are the things we will do in Excel. New skills for some folks. Let's dive right into Section 7.1. Alright, first thing it's asking us, what will our next year dividend be? We can do this a couple different ways. Let's do this as a future value calculation. Essentially what we're asking. And so that's going to be the rate. Well, that's going to be our dividend growth rate. We have no PMT, and the present value is our current dividend. And $2.52. So, whoops, what is the stock price today? Well, since we have a nice consistent rate, we can use our dear friend Gordon. It's equal to next year's dividend minus the growth rate. Changing. Well, what we can do is, and again, this is where Excel shows its worth. We can say, let's go dividend next year. Actually, I'll have to remake my future value. So future value of, and it's going to ask for 0, number of periods 1. I have no PMT, and the present value is my current dividend, and I want to lock that in place. I'm going to multiply it by a -1. So that's the first part of the argument. So my dividend is going to grow. And then I'm going to divide that by R. And I want to lock that cell into place. Minus my new growth rate. So I'm locking a couple cells in place, and then I want the growth rate to be able to move around. So if our growth rate is 0, our dividend is growing, or our stock price will be $18. And now that I built a formula, I can drag and drop. So if we have a 12% growth rate, we're willing to so we change our growth rates, that is going to change the stock price. The more of a dividend we get, the more we're willing to pay. Alright, so our example, we need to figure out the price in year 3. We have an inconsistent growth. Well, the price in year 3 is equal to the future value of year 4 dividends. So I need to take my third year growth rate. It's going to be 1 for this because we need to figure out year 3, so we need year 4's dividend. I have no PMT, and my year 3 dividend going into year 4 is a $2.50. So that will give me my next year's dividend, year 4, divided by required return minus parentheses. We're thinking it's going to be worth $52.50. So what is it worth to us today? Well, we can go equals, and we can use an MPV function. So it's going to be the net excuse me, net present value of our required return, and then here's make this a little cleaner. We'll do if I them up a little squirrely, and then add my year 3 dividend to my year 3 price. So $43.88. Alright, so now we're being asked to figure out value of equity, and this time we'll go ahead and use the formula method. So it's going to be my couple of parentheses, 1 plus my initial growth rate. And we'll close one off, and then we're going to take it to 3 years of growth. So we're going to take our dividend just paid times 1 plus the initial growth rate to the third power, because we've got 3 years worth of dividend growth, times 1 plus the second period of growth rates. We'll double parenthesis that to close the denominator off, or sorry, the numerator off, and then we go back to Gordon. Oops. Required return minus that second growth rate. So equity value in 3 years we're estimating to be 120 million and change, 835 to be exact. So what is it worth to us today? And we'll throw in 3 parentheses. We'll take our dividend just paid times 1 plus that initial growth rate, and we'll divide that by our required return minus the initial growth rate. So it's going to come out a little wonky in that first calculation. However, if we multiply it by 1 minus 2 parentheses 1 plus initial growth rate divided by parentheses 1 plus our required rate of return, 2 parentheses, shift 6 to get that inverted caret to the third power, so 3 years worth of growth, plus our equity value in 3 years divided by 1 plus our required rate of return, shift 6 to the third power for 3 years worth of growth. Oops. Should be in that cell. There we go. So we're willing to pay $87,569.44. And if we have 20,000 shares, equity value divided by numbers of shares, we can estimate that that share price will be $4.38. I should check and see how much time I have left on the clock. Ooh, I've gone let's wrap this up. Sorry for this bit. If our dividend is growing at a rate, what is our dividend? Well, we're going to take our current dividend times 1 plus the growth rate. And again, we can do that. So if we're going to be in a perpetual growth rate mode, I can take next year's dividend times 1 plus my growth rate. And then from here, I can just drag my formula down. So we have some accelerated growth rates, and then they're going to taper off. Then I can do a present value of all these dividends. The present value being, so our rate, and let's lock that cell in. So I can just drag and drop. Our number of periods they gave us. We have no PMT. And then our future value is the dividend. So I can drag that all the way down. So if I sum up the present value of my future dividends, $42.20 is what all these future dividends are worth. Alright, let's see if there's anything else. So the present value of my stock price today, so the stock price in year 15 is going to be the dividend times 1 plus, and it was D120 was going to be our next growth rate, so it stables out, divided by parenthesis D119 was our rate of return minus D120. That's just to avoid rolling up the screen. So the present value of the future stock price, PV parenthesis, so it's going to be D119 is the rate of return. It's going to be in 15 years, comma, comma, negative current, So to figure out what our stock price is worth today, it's going to be equal to our present value of our stock price plus the dividends. Alright, I hope this has helped. Once again, thanks for watching.